Welcome, dear travellers, to Somnus Sagas, where the echoes of ancient times cradle you into dreams. I'm your guide, here to lead you through the opulent feasts of ancient Egypt's elites, where the Nile's gentle flow and the desert's warm embrace set the stage for lavish celebrations. Find a cozy place to rest, perhaps beneath a soft blanket, your head on a plush pillow, or nestled in a quiet corner. Let your body sink into comfort, your shoulders softening, your breath slowing like the steady rhythm of a festival drum. Take a deep, slow breath in, feeling the air fill your chest, warm and calming, like the scent of lotus wine in a banquet hall. Exhale softly, letting the day's cares drift away, light as petals on the Nile surface. Tonight, we journey into the heart of ancient Egypt's elite revelries, where nobles, priests, and musicians indulged in feasts, music, and the intoxicating gifts of the gods. These tales, inspired by the festivals of Hathor, Bes, and Osiris, follow the lives of the wealthy as they danced, drank, and sought euphoria under the stars. Each story is crafted to soothe your mind, to guide you into restful slumber, with the murmur of the Nile and the hum of ancient songs. If you wish to support Somnus Sagas, visit our Patreon for exclusive tales and a Spotify playlist of all our stories, ready to lull you into peace. Now close your eyes if you wish, and let the rhythm of the feast carry you into a world of luxury and tranquility. Picture yourself in a grand hall along the Nile, its walls adorned with lotus motifs, the air filled with the sweet scent of blue lotus and roasted meat. The elite gather, their laughter blending with the harp strings, their goblets brimming with wine infused with mandrake. These are not mere parties, but celebrations of divine excess, where every sip and dance honored the gods. Let your mind drift as we explore 14 tales of revelry, each a serene glimpse into the indulgences of Egypt's nobles, their rhythms echoing through the night. Relax, breathe, and let the sands of Egypt lull you into serenity. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the Nile, noblewoman Nefertari hosted a grand banquet in her Theban villa, dedicated to Hathor, goddess of love and music. Servants lit oil lamps, their flames flickering softly, filling the air with the scent of lotus oil. Nefertari, adorned in a beaded linen dress, reclined on a cushioned chair, her goblet brimming with blue lotus wine, its sweet aroma mingling with roasted duck. The evening unfolded in a rhythm of indulgence, like the steady strum of a harp. Musicians played, their fingers gliding over strings in a slow, hypnotic cadence, while dancers twirled, their anklets jingling softly. Nefertari sipped her wine, feeling a gentle euphoria as the lotus worked its magic, her laughter blending with the harp's notes. Servants offered platters of figs and honeyed bread, their surfaces glistening, and poured more wine into her goblet, the liquid dark and fragrant. The hall hummed with the scent of incense and the murmur of noble voices, each moment a tribute to Hathor's joyous spirit. As the night deepened, Nefertari joined the dancers, her movements slow and graceful, the wine warming her senses. She arranged lotus petals on a silver tray, their texture soft under her fingers, and hummed a hymn to Hathor. the melody simple and repetitive, lulling her mind into calm. The air carried the scent of the Nile and the faint rustle of palm fronds. Her world was one of celebration. Each dancer thread in Hathor's tapestry of love, weaving bliss into the elite's night. As you listen, feel the rhythm of the harp, your breath slowing, your body sinking deeper into rest. With the moon rising high over Memphis, a wealthy merchant named Horemheb threw a lively festival in his courtyard, honoring Bes, the dwarf god of joy. Lanterns glowed softly, casting a warm amber light, while the air filled with the sweet scent of mandrake-infused beer. Horemheb, dressed in a richly embroidered kilt, sat on a cushioned bench, his cup overflowing with the potent brew, its earthy taste tingling on his tongue. The night flowed in a rhythm of merriment, like the steady beats of a drum. Dancers leaped and twirled, their beads clinking in time with the music, while acrobats flipped gracefully overhead. Horemheb sipped his beer, a wave of lightheadedness washing over him, his laughter joining the crowd's cheers. Servants carried trays of spiced meats and dates, their aromas wafting through the air, and refilled his cup, the liquid dark and heady. The courtyard buzzed with the scent of resin and the hum of flutes, each moment a prayer to Bes's playful spirit. As the stars emerged, Horemheb clapped along to the drums, his movements slow and joyful, the beer softening his limbs. He arranged a garland of lotus flowers, their petals cool under his fingers, and hummed a tune to Bes, the melody simple and repetitive, lulling his mind into peace. The air carried the scent of the Nile and the distant rustle of palm leaves. His world was one of revelry, each clap a thread in Bes's tapestry of happiness, weaving delight into the elite's night. As you listen, feel the rhythm of the drum, your breath slowing, your mind drifting toward calm. Beneath the starlit sky of Heliopolis, nobleman Amenemhat hosted a lavish feast in his riverside palace, celebrating Osiris, god of rebirth. Torches flickered along the walls, their light dancing on lotus carvings, while the air grew thick with the scent of wine laced with mandrake. Amenemhat, draped in a golden robe, lounged on a plush divan, his goblet filled with the intoxicating blend, its warmth spreading through him. The night progressed in a rhythm of renewal, like the soft notes of a flute. Musicians played, their melodies weaving through the hall, while guests reclined, sipping wine and nibbling on grapes. Amenemhat felt a dreamy haze as the mandrake took hold, his voice joining the others in a slow chant to Osiris. Servants offered trays of roasted quail and figs, their surfaces glistening, and poured more wine into his goblet, the liquid rich and fragrant. The palace hummed with the scent of myrrh and the murmur of noble laughter, each moment a tribute to Osiris's eternal life. As midnight approached, Amenemhat rose to lead a slow dance, his steps gentle and fluid, the wine easing his movements. He arranged barley stalks on a bronze tray, their texture rough under his fingers, and hummed a hymn to Osiris, the melody simple and repetitive, lulling his mind into calm. The air carried the scent of the Nile and the faint rustle of reeds. His world was one of abundance, each dance a thread in Osiris's tapestry of rebirth, weaving peace into the elite's night. As you listen, feel the rhythm of the flute, your breath slowing, your body sinking deeper into rest. As the afternoon sun bathed Amun, Mana in golden light, Priestess Meritaten organized a radiant revelry in her sunlit hall, honoring Ra, god of the sun. Sunken lamps glowed along the walls, their flames casting a warm hue, while the air filled with the scent of blue lotus tea. Meritaten, adorned with a solar disc necklace, sat on a cushioned throne, her cup steaming with the herbal brew, its floral taste soothing her senses. The day flowed in a rhythm of brilliance, like the steady chime of bells. Singers chanted hymns, their voices rising and falling in a slow cadence, while dancers swayed, their movements mirroring the sun's arc. Meritaten sipped her tea, a gentle euphoria lifting her spirits, her laughter blending with the bell's soft ring. Servants carried platters of honey cakes and pomegranates, their surfaces sticky and sweet, and refilled her cup, the liquid pale and fragrant. The hall buzzed with the scent of frankincense and the hum of flutes, each moment a prayer to Ra's divine light. As the sun began to set, Meritaten joined the singers, her voice low and melodic, the tea warming her throat. She arranged sun-shaped amulets on a silver tray, their surfaces cool under her fingers, and hummed a hymn to Ra, the melody simple and repetitive, lulling her mind into peace. The air carried the scent of the Nile and the distant rustle of palm fronds. Her world was one of radiance, each song a thread in Ra's tapestry of light, weaving serenity into the elite's day. As you listen, feel the rhythm of the bells, your breath slowing, your body sinking deeper into rest. With the evening shadows stretching over Abydos, nobleman Khnumhotep hosted a wild dance in his sandstone pavilion, dedicated to Set, god of chaos and strength. Torches flared along the walls, their light dancing on red stone carvings, while the air grew heavy with the scent of beer mixed with mandrake. Khnumhotep, clad in a crimson kilt, stood by a table, his cup filled with a potent brew, its bitter taste sparking his energy. The night moved in a rhythm of vigor, like the rustle of flowing fabric. Drummers beat a steady pulse, their rhythms urging dancers to leap and spin, their skirts swirling wildly. Khnumhotep drank deeply, a bold rush coursing through him, his shouts joining the crowd's excitement. Servants offered trays of spiced lamb and dates, their aromas rich and warm, and poured more beer into his cup, the liquid dark and frothy. The pavilion hummed with the scent of resin and the roar of laughter, each moment a tribute to Set's untamed spirit. As the stars appeared, Khnumhotep joined the dance, his step strong and free, the beer fueling his movements. He arranged was scepters on a wooden stand, their wood smooth under his fingers, and hummed a chant to Set, the melody simple and repetitive, lulling his mind into calm. The air carried the scent of the Nile and the faint rustle of desert sand. His world was one of power, each dance a thread in Set's tapestry of chaos, weaving energy into the elite's night. As you listen, feel the rhythm of the fabric, your breath slowing, your mind drifting toward peace. As the midday sun warmed Edfu, noble woman Tuya organized a melodic gathering in her riverside hall, honoring Horus, god of the sky. Windows opened to the breeze, their curtains fluttering softly, while the air filled with the scent of blue lotus wine. Tuya, draped in a falcon-embroidered robe, sat on a cushioned bench, her goblet brimming with the floral drink, its taste lifting her spirits. The afternoon flowed in a rhythm of harmony, like the trill of a flute. Singers raised their voices in a slow, lilting chant, while dancers moved with the grace of falcons, their arms outstretched. Tuya sipped her wine, a gentle haze settling over her, her smile blending with the flute's soft notes. Servants carried trays of roasted fish and grapes, their surfaces glistening, and refilled her goblet, the liquid pale and fragrant. The hall hummed with the scent of myrrh and the murmur of noble conversation, each moment a prayer to Horus's divine flight. As the sun began to dip, Tuya joined the singers, her voice clear and steady, the wine soothing her throat. She arranged falcon feathers on a bronze tray, their texture light under her fingers, and hummed a hymn to Horus, the melody simple and repetitive, lulling her mind into peace. The air carried the scent of the Nile and the distant rustle of reeds. Her world was one of grace, each song a thread in Horus's tapestry of the sky, weaving tranquility into the elite's day. As you listen, feel the rhythm of the flute, your breath slowing, your body sinking deeper into rest. Under the silver moonlight of Hermopolis, scholar Ptah hosted an intellectual toast in his library, dedicated to Thoth, god of wisdom. Candles glowed along the shelves, their light dancing on papyrus scrolls, while the air filled with the scent of wine infused with mandrake. Ptah, clad in a scholar's tunic, sat at a wooden table, his cup brimming with the heady blend, its warmth spreading through him. The night unfolded in a rhythm of thought, like the scratch of a reed pen. Guests recited poetry, their voices rising in a slow, measured cadence, while scribes recorded the words, their pens moving rhythmically. Ptah sipped his wine, a dreamy clarity filling his mind, his laughter blending with the soft recitation. Servants offered trays of bread and olives, their surfaces rustic and savory, and poured more wine into his cup, the liquid dark and rich. The library hummed with the scent of ink and the murmur of learned debate, each moment a tribute to Thoth's divine knowledge. As the stars brightened, Ptah joined the recitation, his voice low and steady, the wine easing his thoughts. He arranged papyrus scrolls on a shelf, their texture smooth under his fingers, and hummed a hymn to Thoth, the melody simple and repetitive, lulling his mind into peace. The air carried the scent of the Nile and the faint rustle of palm leaves. His world was one of wisdom, each word a thread in Thoth's tapestry of learning, weaving calm into the elite's night. As you listen, feel the rhythm of the pen, your breath slowing, your body sinking deeper into rest. With the afternoon heat softening in Bubastis, noble woman Merit hosted a feline-inspired revelry in her garden, honoring Bastet, goddess of pleasure. Sunlit fountains sparkled, their water catching the light, while the air filled with the scent of blue lotus incense. Merit, adorned with a cat-shaped necklace, reclined on a cushioned divan, her cup brimming with lotus wine, its floral taste delighting her senses. The day flowed in a rhythm of ease, like the purr of a contented cat. Musicians played lutes, their strings vibrating in a slow, hypnotic cadence, while dancers moved with the grace of felines, their steps light and fluid. Merit sipped her wine, a gentle euphoria warming her, her purr-like laughter blending with the music. Servants carried trays of milk-soaked bread and figs, their surfaces creamy and sweet, and refilled her cup, the liquid pale and fragrant. The garden hummed with the scent of jasmine and the soft mew of temple cats, each moment a prayer to Bastet's joyful spirit. As the sun lowered, Merit joined the dancers, her movements slow and feline, the wine softening her limbs. She arranged cat figurines on a stone table, their clay cool under her fingers, and hummed a hymn to Bastet, the melody simple and repetitive, lulling her mind into peace. The air carried the scent of the Nile and the distant rustle of reeds. Her world was one of pleasure, each dance a thread in Bastet's tapestry of delight, weaving serenity into the elite's day. As you listen, feel the rhythm of the purr, your breath slowing, your mind drifting toward calm. As the evening shadows fell over Giza, artisan Sekhmet hosted a craft-filled gathering in his workshop, dedicated to Ptah, god of creation. Torches flared along the walls, their light dancing on alabaster statues, while the air grew rich with the scent of beer laced with herbs. Sekhmet, dressed in a dusty kilt, sat at a workbench, his cup filled with the earthy brew, its taste sparking his creativity. The night moved in a rhythm of artistry, like the tap of a chisel. Guests carved small figurines, their tools striking stone in a slow, deliberate cadence, while poets recited verses, their words flowing softly. Sekhmet sipped his beer, a warm buzz filling his mind, his hands shaping clay with ease. Servants offered trays of roasted nuts and dates, their surfaces crunchy and sweet, and poured more beer into his cup, the liquid frothy and dark. The workshop hummed with the scent of resin and the murmur of creative talk, each moment a tribute to Ptah's divine craft. As the stars appeared, Sekhmet joined the carving, his movements slow and focused, the beer steadying his hands. He arranged finished figurines on a shelf, their surfaces smooth under his fingers, and hummed a hymn to Ptah, the melody simple and repetitive, lulling his mind into peace. The air carried the scent of the Nile and the faint rustle of palm fronds. His world was one of creation, each tap a thread in Ptah's tapestry of art, weaving calm into the elite's night. As you listen, feel the rhythm of the chisel, your breath slowing, your body sinking deeper into rest. With the midnight stillness settling over Karnak, Priestess Nefertari led a sacred prayer feast in the temple's inner sanctum, honoring Amun, god of kingship. Bronze braziers glowed, their flames casting a warm light, while the air filled with the scent of myrrh-infused wine. Nefertari, draped in a golden robe, knelt before Amun's statue, her cup brimming with the aromatic drink, its warmth spreading through her. The night unfolded in a rhythm of devotion, like the crackle of a sacred fire. Singers chanted hymns, their voices rising in a slow, reverent cadence, while guests sipped wine, their movements languid. Nefertari drank deeply, a gentle euphoria lifting her spirit, her prayers blending with the flame's soft sound. Servants offered trays of bread and olives, their surfaces rustic and savory, and poured more wine into her cup, the liquid rich and fragrant. The sanctum hummed with the scent of incense and the murmur of noble voices, each moment a tribute to Amun's divine presence. As the night deepened, Nefertari led a slow chant, her voice steady and warm, the wine soothing her throat. She arranged lotus flowers around the brazier, their petals soft under her fingers, and hummed a hymn to Amun, the melody simple and repetitive, lulling her mind into peace. The air carried the scent of the Nile and the distant rustle of reeds. Her world was one of reverence, each prayer a thread in Amun's tapestry of power, weaving serenity into the elite's night. As you listen, feel the rhythm of the flames, your breath slowing, your body sinking deeper into rest. As the afternoon sun softened over Memphis, healer Anhur hosted a healing dance in her garden, dedicated to Sekhmet, goddess of health. Sunlit fountains bubbled gently, their water catching the light, while the air filled with the scent of blue lotus tea. Anhur, adorned with a lioness pendant, sat on a cushioned stool, her cup steaming with the herbal brew, its taste calming her senses. The day flowed in a rhythm of restoration, like the jingle of a sistrum. Dancers moved in slow, healing circles, their anklets chiming softly, while singers chanted soothing verses. Anhur sipped her tea, a gentle peace washing over her, her smile blending with the sistrum's gentle sound. Servants carried trays of honeyed figs and herbs, their surfaces fragrant and soft, and refilled her cup, the liquid pale and floral. The garden hummed with the scent of myrrh and the murmur of healing prayers, each moment a tribute to Sekhmet's restorative power. As the sun lowered, Anhur joined the dancers, her movements slow and deliberate, the tea easing her limbs. She arranged healing oils on a stone table, their vials cool under her fingers, and hummed a hymn to Sekhmet, the melody simple and repetitive, lulling her mind into peace. The air carried the scent of the Nile and the distant rustle of palm fronds. Her world was one of healing, each dance a thread in Sekhmet's tapestry of life, weaving calm into the elite's day. As you listen, feel the rhythm of the sistrum, your breath slowing, your mind drifting toward calm. Nobleman Sobek hosted a riverside swim in his lush estate, honoring Sobek, god of the Nile. Pools reflected the sun, their surfaces shimmering, while the air filled with the scent of beer mixed with herbs. Sobek, clad in a green kilt, lounged by the water, his cup brimming with the potent brew, its taste invigorating his spirit. The day moved in a rhythm of leisure, like the lapping of water against the shore. Guests swam and floated, their laughter echoing softly, while musicians played flutes, their notes drifting on the breeze. Sobek sipped his beer, a bold energy coursing through him, his voice joining the water's gentle splash. Servants offered trays of fish and melons, their surfaces fresh and juicy, and poured more beer into his cup, the liquid frothy and dark. The estate hummed with the scent of wet reeds and the murmur of splashing, each moment a tribute to Sobek's watery strength. As the sun climbed higher, Sobek waded into the pool, his movements slow and buoyant, the beer steadying his balance. He arranged crocodile figurines on a stone ledge, their clay cool under his fingers, and hummed a hymn to Sobek, the melody simple and repetitive, lulling his mind into peace. The air carried the scent of the Nile and the distant rustle of papyrus. His world was one of refreshment, each swim a thread in Sobek's tapestry of the river, weaving serenity into the elite's day. As twilight settled over Thebes, Judge Imhotep hosted a balanced feast in his marble hall, dedicated to Maat, goddess of truth. Lamps glowed along the walls, their light dancing on feather carvings, while the air filled with the scent of wine infused with mandrake. Imhotep, draped in a white robe, sat at a long table, his cup brimming with the heady blend, its warmth grounding his thoughts. The night unfolded in a rhythm of harmony, like the hum of a sacred chant. Guests recited laws, their voices rising in a slow, measured cadence, while dancers moved with the precision of scales, their steps light and even. Imhotep sipped his wine, a gentle clarity filling his mind, his words blending with the chant's soft tone. Servants offered trays of bread and olives, their surfaces balanced and simple, and poured more wine into his cup, the liquid rich and fragrant. The hall hummed with the scent of incense and the murmur of noble discourse, each moment a tribute to Maat's divine order. As the stars appeared, Imhotep led a slow recitation, his voice steady and calm, the wine soothing his spirit. He arranged ostrich feathers on a silver tray, their plumes light under his fingers, and hummed a hymn to Maat, the melody simple and repetitive, lulling his mind into peace. The air carried the scent of the Nile and the distant rustle of palm leaves. His world was one of justice, each word a thread in Maat's tapestry of balance, weaving tranquility into the elite's night. As you listen, feel the rhythm of the chant, your breath slowing, your body sinking deeper into rest. With the night deepening over this, warrior noble Ptah hosted a victorious feast in his stone hall, honoring Anhur, god of war. Torches flared along the walls, their light dancing on spear racks, while the air grew rich with the scent of beer laced with herbs. Ptah, clad in a bronze-trimmed kilt, stood by a table, his cup filled with the potent brew, its taste fueling his pride. The night moved in a rhythm of triumph, like the clank of polished armor. Storytellers recited tales of battle, their voices rising in a slow, heroic cadence, while dancers mimed victories, their movements bold yet fluid. Ptah drank deeply, a warm rush filling his chest, his laughter blending with the armor's soft ring. Servants offered trays of roasted goat and bread, their surfaces hearty and warm, and poured more beer into his cup, the liquid dark and frothy. The hall hummed with the scent of cedar and the murmur of warrior songs, each moment a tribute to Anhur's divine strength. As the stars shone brightly, Tammuz joined the storytelling, his voice strong and steady, the beer steadying his spirit. He arranged spearheads on a wooden rack, their metal cool under his fingers, and hummed a hymn to Anhur, the melody simple and repetitive, lulling his mind into peace. The air carried the scent of the Nile and the faint rustle of desert sand. His world was one of valor, each tale a thread in Anhur's tapestry of courage, weaving serenity into the elite night. As you listen, feel the rhythm of the armor, your breath slowing, your body sinking deeper into rest. The 1925 eclipse and the radio breakthrough. On September 6, 1925, Sir Frank Watson Dyson, a towering figure in British astronomy, orchestrated an expedition during a total solar eclipse. This eclipse's path of totality stretched from northern Scotland across the North Sea, grazing parts of Norway, Sweden, and down to North Africa, with the longest totality, 2 minutes 23 seconds, observed near the Faroe Islands. Dyson, stationed likely in the UK or a nearby observation point, teamed up with Charles Cree and other physicists to use the eclipse to filter out terrestrial radio interference. Their hypothesis: the sun might emit radio waves, but Earth's atmosphere and human-made noise were drowning them out. By timing their observations during the moon's brief occlusion of the sun, they detected a noticeable drop in static on their receivers, evidence that the sun was indeed a radio source. The tech was basic. Vacuum tube radios tuned to long wavelengths around 10 to 20 meters, far cruder than today's precision instruments. Yet, this crude setup captured a signal drop that hinted at solar emissions, likely from the sun's chromosphere or corona, layers we now know are buzzing with activity. This wasn't a direct measurement of the waves themselves, but an inference, a tantalizing clue that spurred decades of research. The science behind it, fast forward to today's understanding. The sun's radio waves originate from its dynamic atmosphere. Solar flares and coronal mass ejections, CMEs, accelerate electrons, which spiral in the sun's magnetic fields, emitting radio waves via a process called cyclotron radiation. Sunspots, those dark, cool patches on the sun's surface, also contribute by creating localized magnetic turbulence. The 1925 team couldn't see these details, but their work planted the seed. By the 1940s, Grote Reber, an American radio engineer, built a 9-meter homemade radio telescope in his backyard and mapped solar radio emissions, confirming bursts that aligned with sunspot cycles. Today, instruments like the Carl G. Jansky Very Large Array, VLA, and the Low Frequency Array, LOFAR, detect these waves across frequencies from kilohertz to gigahertz, revealing a sun that's far noisier than it looks. Dyson's legacy and the 1919 connection. Dyson wasn't new to eclipse fame. In 1919, during another total eclipse, visible from South America and Africa, he led an expedition to test Einstein's general relativity. Einstein predicted that the sun's gravity would bend starlight, and Dyson's team photographed Ptah, are Foccari stars near the sun's edge, confirming a shift of 1.75 arc-seconds, matching Einstein's calculations. This catapulted relativity into the public eye and showcased Dyson's knack for turning eclipses into scientific gold mines. The 1925 radio work built on this reputation, shifting focus from visible light to invisible waves, a pivot that redefined astronomy. Evolution of radio astronomy. The 1925 discovery was a catalyst. In 1932, Carl Jansky, working for Bell Labs, accidentally discovered radio waves from the Milky Way while studying static, birthing radio astronomy as a field. The sun's role was clarified further in 1942, when British radar operators noticed solar interference during World War II, linking it to sunspots. This led to dedicated solar radio observatories, like the Nobayama radio heliograph in Japan, which now tracks the sun in real time. On this very day in 2025, solar physicists might be analyzing data from the Parker Solar Probe, launched in 2018, which has flown through the sun's corona, giving us unprecedented radio and plasma data. Cultural and practical impact. The 1925 eclipse wasn't just science, it was a cultural event. Newspapers across Europe reported on the darkened skies and Dyson's team, fueling public interest in the cosmos. Practically, understanding solar radio emissions became crucial. CMEs can trigger geomagnetic storms, like the 1989 event that blacked out Quebec. Today, the Space Weather Prediction Center uses radio data to forecast these events, protecting satellites and power grids. The sun's 11-year cycle is peaking toward a solar maximum around 2025. So right now, observatories are likely buzzing with activity, perhaps even detecting a flare as we speak. Fun facts and modern twists. The 1925 eclipse's path missed major cities, but small towns like Lerwick in Scotland saw totality, drawing amateur astronomers with homemade telescopes. Dyson's team worked with rudimentary logbooks and manual calculations. Imagine doing that under eclipse pressure. Today, citizen scientists use apps like Radio Jove to listen to solar radio bursts from home, echoing Dyson's pioneering spirit. The sun's radio noise can mimic Morse code during intense flares, a phenomenon dubbed solar static that amateur radio operators still chase. The fall of Constantinople, the end of an era. On May 29th, 1453, after a 53-day siege, the Ottoman Empire under Sultan Mehmed II, nicknamed the Conqueror, captured Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. This wasn't just a city falling. It was the death knell of the Eastern Roman Empire, which had stood for over 1,100 years since its founding in 330 CE by Emperor Constantine I. Located on the Bosporus Strait, Constantinople was a jewel, a fortified metropolis straddling Europe and Asia, guarded by massive Theodosian walls, and a center of Christian orthodoxy, trade, and learning. Its fall marked the end of the Middle Ages and catalyzed the Renaissance, the age of exploration, and the rise of Ottoman dominance. The build-up, a city under pressure. By the 15th century, the Byzantine Empire was a shadow of its former glory. The Fourth Crusade in 1204 had sacked Constantinople, weakening it and splintering its territories. The Black Death, 1347 to 1351, decimated its population, dropping from over 400,000 to perhaps 50,000. The Ottoman Turks, a rising power since the 13th century under Osman I, had been encroaching for decades. By 1451, Mehmed II, at just 19 years old, ascended the Ottoman throne with a singular obsession: conquering Constantinople to fulfill a dream attributed to his ancestor Osman, uniting Islam's two holy cities, Mecca and Medina, with a new capital. The city's defences were formidable. The Theodosian walls, built in the 5th century, were a triple-layered marvel: a 5 to 6 metre outer wall, a 2 metre inner wall, and a 20 metre moat, stretching 5.7 kilometres along the landside. The Golden Horn, a natural harbour, was chained shut with a massive boom. Inside, Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos led a ragtag force of 7,000 to 10,000 defenders, Greeks, Genoese mercenaries, notably Giovanni Giustiniani, and even some Venetian sailors, against an Ottoman army of 50,000 to 80,000, backed by artillery. The siege, innovation and desperation. Mehmed II's strategy was bold and technological. He hauled 70 cannons, including the monstrous basilic cannon. Cast by Hungarian engineer Orban, it weighed 19 tons, fired 600-pound stone balls up to 1.5 kilometers, and took 3 hours to reload. On April 6, 1453, the bombardment began, shaking the walls with relentless force. The Ottomans also built a circumvallation wall to cut off land escape and a floating roadway of boats to drag ships overland into the Golden Horn, bypassing the chain, a feat completed by April 22nd, shocking the defenders. Inside, the Byzantines fought with ingenuity. They repaired walls nightly, used Greek fire and napalm-like incendiary, and prayed for a crusade that never came. Western Europe, distracted by internal wars and the recent loss at Varna, 1444, sent only a trickle of aid. A final hope was a rumoured relief fleet from Genoa, but it arrived too late. On May 28th, a last-ditch liturgy at Hagia Sophia saw Constantine XI vowing to die with his city, a poignant scene as bells tolled and citizens braced for the end. The breach, a night of chaos. The final assault began at 1 a.m. on May 29th. Mehmed launched wave after wave, first irregular Bashi bazooks, then elite janissaries. The walls held until a critical moment. Accounts differ, but a small gate, likely the Kirkeporta, was left ajar, possibly by fleeing defenders, and Ottoman troops poured in. Giustiniani, wounded, withdrew, demoralizing the garrison. By dawn, the Ottomans breached the Saint, Romanus Gate, and Constantine XI, last Byzantine emperor, reportedly died fighting, though his body was never found. Legend says he was buried under rubble or turned into a marble statue to rise again. The city fell by mid-morning. Mehmed entered Hagia Sophia, ordering it converted into a mosque. It remained so until 1935, when it became a museum, and now, since 2020, a mosque again. The sack was brutal but restrained by Mehmed's orders. 3 days of looting were allowed, yielding immense wealth, gold, relics, and the famed Golden Fleece chain. But he spared many lives to repopulate his new capital. The aftermath. A world transformed. The fall stunned Christendom. Pope Nicholas V called for a crusade, but Europe was too fractured. France and England were in the Hundred Years' War's tail end, and the Holy Roman Empire was a patchwork. Instead, it triggered a diaspora of Greek scholars to Italy, carrying manuscripts of Plato, Aristotle, and others. This intellectual exodus fueled the Renaissance, with figures like Marsilio Ficino, translating texts that reshaped Western thought. Trade routes shifted. The Silk Road's western terminus was now Ottoman-controlled, pushing European powers, Portugal, Spain, to seek sea routes. This set the stage for Columbus's 1492 voyage, backed by Ferdinand and Isabella, who were partly motivated by the loss of Constantinople. The Ottomans renamed it Istanbul, from the Greek Aistin Polin, meaning to the city, making it their capital until 1923, and it became a multicultural hub, blending Byzantine, Islamic, and later Turkish influences. Deeper historical layers. Technology's role. The basilic cannon was a game-changer, but its slow reload rate showed artillery's limits. Future sieges relied on lighter, faster guns. Orban, the cannon's creator, had offered his services to Constantine XI first, but the emperor couldn't afford him. A bitter irony. Cultural clash. The siege pitted Orthodox Christianity against rising Ottoman Islam, but Mehmed admired Byzantine culture, preserving Hagia Sophia's mosaics, covered, not destroyed, and hiring Greek scholars. Eyewitness accounts, chroniclers like George Francis, Constantine's aide, and Ottoman historian Tursun Beg offer vivid details. Francis mourned the emperor's death, while Tursun praised Mehmed's divine destiny. Long-term echoes. The Fool inspired art, Bellini's portrait of Mehmed, and literature, Byron's poetry. It also shifted global power, with the Ottomans dominating the Eastern Mediterranean until their decline after World War I. Fun and obscure tidbits. A rumor persists that Constantine XI's spirit haunts Istanbul, tied to a prophecy he'd return as a marble emperor. Mehmed, at 21 during the conquest, was a polymath, fluent in Greek, Latin, and Persian. He later wrote poetry and commissioned the Topkapi Palace. The Golden Horn's chain, now in the Istanbul Archaeology Museum, weighs 5 tons and was forged with Byzantine ingenuity. The Great Fire of London, a city ablaze. On September 2nd, 1666, a small fire broke out in a bakery on Pudding Lane, owned by Thomas Fariner, in the heart of medieval London. Over 4 days, it raged uncontrollably, consuming 13,200 houses, 87 churches, including Old St. Paul's Cathedral, and leaving 70,000 of the city's 80,000 residents homeless. Miraculously, only a handful died. Estimates range from 6 to 16, though the true toll may be higher due to unrecorded losses. This disaster, occurring just a year after the Great Plague, didn't just destroy. It rebuilt London into a modern metropolis, ending medieval squalor and sparking architectural innovation. The spark, a perfect storm. The fire began around 1 a.m. on Sunday, September 2nd, when a spark from Fariner's oven, likely left smouldering overnight, ignited dry wooden beams in his shop. London was a tinderbox. Narrow, winding streets were lined with overhanging timber-framed houses, many coated in pitch and thatch, remnants of medieval construction. The summer had been hot and dry, with a strong east wind fanning the flames. Fariner and his family escaped, but a maid perished, possibly the first victim, trapped by the blaze. Initial efforts to douse it failed. Firefighting was primitive. Leather buckets, hand pumps and fire squirts were no match for the inferno. The Lord Mayor, Sir Thomas Bloodworth, infamously dismissed it as something a woman might piss out, delaying organised response. By morning, the fire had jumped to Thames Street, spreading along the river's warehouses packed with oil, tar and spirits. The spread, chaos and courage. By Monday, September 3rd, the fire devoured the City of London, the walled commercial hub. The east wind drove it west, melting lead roofs and cracking stone. Eyewitness Samuel Pepys, a naval administrator and diarist, recorded the horror. The churches, houses, and all on fire and flaming at once. King Charles II and his brother James, Duke of York, took charge, organising firefighters and demolishing buildings with gunpowder to create fire breaks, a tactic suggested by Pepys, but slow to implement. The blaze reached its peak on Tuesday, September 4th, when it hit the medieval heart, including Guildhall and Old Saint. Paul's, the cathedral's wooden scaffolding, added for repairs, acted like a torch, and its lead roof melted, pouring molten metal into the streets. By Wednesday, the wind shifted, and the fire burned itself out near Temple Church, aided by the fire breaks and exhaustion of fuel. The aftermath, a city reborn. The destruction was staggering. 436 acres, 66% of the city, lay in ruins. Yet, the death toll was low. Official records list 6, including the maid. But mass graves and plague-weakened bodies may have been overlooked. The fire's heat was so intense, it vitrified clay pipes and fused bricks, with temperatures possibly exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius, 1,832 degrees Fahrenheit. Londoners faced immediate hardship. Refugees camped in fields like Moorfields, and the king opened his parks. Looting occurred, with some blaming French or Dutch arson. War paranoia was rife, though investigations cleared foreigners. Fariner was acquitted after testimony. The fire's silver lining was its sanitation. It incinerated plague-ridden slums, ending the 1665 epidemic that had killed 100,000. Rebuilding began swiftly. Architect Sir Christopher Wren, commissioned by Charles II, redesigned the city with wider streets, brick and stone mandates, replacing wood, and 51 new churches, including the iconic St. Paul's Cathedral, completed 1710. The 1667 Rebuilding Act enforced fire safety, creating a grid-like layout that still defines central London. Insurance emerged as a concept, with companies like the Fire Office, founded 1680, offering policies. Deeper historical layers. Political context. The fire came during the Second Anglo-Dutch War, 1665 to 1667, fueling conspiracy theories. A 1666 pamphlet, A True and Faithful Account, falsely blamed Catholics, leading to the monument's inscription, later removed in 1831, accusing popish frenzy. Charles II, a Stuart Catholic sympathiser, faced pressure but used the crisis to unify his realm. Technological limits. Firefighting relied on human chains passing buckets. Up to 30,000 were used. The first fire engines, imported from Holland, arrived too late. Contrast this with Rome's 64 CE fire, where Emperor Nero, possibly scapegoated, had water systems. London's medieval infrastructure lagged. Cultural impact. The fire inspired art and literature. Pepys's diary, preserved in the National Archives, offers a raw, personal account, while Wren's Saint. Paul's Dome, 365 feet high, became a symbol of resilience. John Dryden's poem Annus Mirabilis, 1667, framed it as a divine reset. Fun and obscure tidbits. A pet monkey was said to have survived by clinging to Say. Paul's roof, a tale Pepys noted with amusement. The fire melted gold and silver, with looters diving into the Thames. Some coins surfaced in the 19th century. Farriner's bakery site is marked by a plaque on Monument Street, near where the monument to the Great Fire, 202 feet tall, built 1671 to 1677, stands. Legend claims a prophecy by Mother Shipton, the city of London shall be burned by fire, gained traction post-fire, though it's likely a retrospective fabrication. Long-term echoes. The Great Fire modernized London, influencing urban planning globally. Paris later adopted similar fire codes after its 1871 fire. It also shifted trade, as the burned docks pushed merchants to new ports, aiding Britain's naval rise. The event's 350th anniversary in 2016 saw reenactments and debates over its cleansing effect on plague. The Battle of Myeongnyang, a tidal triumph. On October 26, 1597, by the lunar calendar, around November 5th in the Gregorian, Korean Admiral Yi Sun-sin led a fleet of just 13 ships to a stunning victory against a Japanese armada of over 133 vessels in the Myeongnyang Strait, near Jindo Island off Korea's southwestern coast. This battle, part of the Imjin War, 1592 to 1598, saw Yi exploit treacherous tides and his innovative turtle ships to repel an enemy outnumbering him 10-1, preserving Korean independence and cementing his legacy as a military legend. The context: a war-torn peninsula. The Imjin War began in 1592, when Toyotomi Hideyoshi, Japan's unifier, launched an ambitious invasion of Korea to conquer Ming China and establish a new empire. His forces, 158,000 strong, swept through Korea, sacking Seoul and Busan. Korea's army faltered, but its navy, under Yi Sun-sin, scored victories like Hansan Island, 1592, using his revolutionary turtle ships, wooden warships covered with iron plates and spiked roofs to deflect arrows and boarders equipped with cannons. By 1597, Hideyoshi sent a second invasion after a brief truce, deploying 140,000 troops and a navy to secure supply lines. Yi, a 50-year-old naval commander from the Joseon dynasty, faced political betrayal. Falsely accused of desertion by rivals, he was tortured and demoted. Yet, reinstated as tensions rose, he took command with a depleted fleet, his reputation as a strategist intact. The setting: a deadly strait. The Myeongnyang Strait was a natural gauntlet, 1.5 kilometers wide, with currents reversing twice daily, reaching speeds of 8 to 10 knots, 15 to 18 kilometers per hour. These tidal shifts created whirlpools and narrow channels, ideal for ambush, but deadly for the unprepared. Yi chose this spot deliberately, knowing the Japanese, reliant on shallow draft ships, would struggle. His 13 ships included 12 Panoxion, oar and sail warships, and one turtle ship, crewed by 1,500 men, against Japan's 133 ships, mostly light kobaya and larger atakebune, carrying 5,000 to 7,000 soldiers. The battle: genius against the odds. The fight began at dawn. Yi anchored his fleet mid-strait, using the ebbing tide to his advantage. The Japanese, under Todo Takatora and Wakisaka Yasuharu, advanced confidently, their ships packed with arquebusiers and samurai. As they entered, the tide turned, creating chaotic currents that slammed their vessels together. Yi's turtle ship, armoured and bristling with 12 to 15 cannons, led the charge, ramming and firing broadsides. His Panoxion manoeuvred in a crane wing formation, encircling the enemy while exploiting the tides to disrupt Japanese cohesion. The Japanese suffered immediate losses. Ships capsized or collided, and arquebus fire was ineffective against the turtle ship's armour. Yi's gunners, trained in precision, sank 31 enemy ships, some accounts say up to 50, and killed hundreds, while losing no vessels. The battle lasted about 3 hours, ending with the Japanese retreating in disarray, their supply lines severed. Yi's flagship took 30 hits, but his tactics and the Strait's fury turned the tide, literally. The aftermath, a turning point. The victory was a morale booster for Korea and the Ming allies, halting Japan's naval dominance. Casualties were lopsided. Korea lost about 10 to 20 men, while Japan suffered 3,000 to 4,000 dead or drowned. Hideyoshi's campaign faltered, and after his death in 1598, Japan withdrew. Yi, though celebrated, died in the war's final battle at Noryang in December 1598, struck by a bullet while winning yet again. The battle's impact was profound. It preserved Joseon's sovereignty, allowing Korea to rebuild. The turtle ship became a symbol of innovation. Its design, with a dragon-headed prow and cannon ports, predated European ironclads by centuries. Yi's war diary, Nanjung Ilgi, detailed his strategies and personal resolve, later recognized by UNESCO in 2013. Deeper historical layers. Tactical brilliance. Yi's use of tides echoes ancient naval tactics, like the Greeks at Salamis, 480 BCE, but his integration of technology was unique. The turtle ship's iron cladding, possibly the world's first armoured warship, was a Joseon engineering feat, using local iron and timber. Political intrigue. Yi's demotion stemmed from envy by General Won Gyun, who botched a 1597 battle, losing 150 ships. Yi's reinstatement was a desperate move by King Seonjo, who'd fled to Pyongyang. Cultural clash. The war pitted Japan's feudal samurai culture against Korea's Confucian bureaucracy. Hideyoshi's ambition clashed with Korea's defensive ethos, with Yi embodying loyalty and sacrifice. Eyewitness accounts. Korean records, like those of Ryu Seong-ryong, Prime Minister, and Japanese chronicles, such as Taikoki, offer contrasting views. Ryu praised Yi's heaven-sent strategy, while Japanese sources downplayed the loss. Fun and obscure tidbits. A tidal whirlpool in Myeongyang is still called Yi Sun-sin's Cauldron, a nod to his mastery. Hideyoshi reportedly raged for days, blaming his admirals, and ordered their ritual suicides, though unconfirmed. Yi's flagship, the Geobukseon, had a furnace to spew smoke, adding psychological terror. Local legend claims a dragon aided Yi, rising from the strait to sink Japanese ships. Pure folklore, but it stuck. Long-term echoes. The battle influenced East Asian naval warfare, with Korea's turtle ship inspiring later designs. It also shaped Korea-Japan relations, with lingering tensions over the war's atrocities, e.g., the nose tombs of severed Korean noses sent to Japan. Today, Yi is a national hero, with statues and a 2014 film, The Admiral, roaring currents, grossing $138 million. And so, dear travellers, our journey through the lavish feasts of ancient Egypt's elites draws to a gentle close. The Nile flows on, its waters whispering the tales of Nefertari, Horemheb, Amenemhat, Meritaten, Knumetep, Tuya, Ptahhotep, Merit, Senenmut, Nefertari, Ankhsempaten, Sobek, Imhotep, and Ptahmes, their lives woven into the eternal tapestry of gods and revelry. As you drift toward sleep, imagine the desert stretching before you, its dunes soft and endless, cradling you in their warm embrace. Feel your breath slow, your body lighten, as the stars above guide you into dreams as serene as the Nile's gentle current. Thank you for joining Somnus Sagas tonight. May your sleep be deep, your dreams rich with the magic of Egypt's gods. Hathor, Bes, Osiris, Ra, Set, Horus, Thoth, Bastet, Ptah, Amun, Sekhmet, Sobek, Maat, and Anhur. If these tales have soothed you, consider supporting us on Patreon, where more stories await to lull you into peace. Subscribe and hit the bell for weekly journeys into the ancient world. Until we meet again, let the sands of time carry you into restful slumber. Good night.